Hey everybody, it's ScomletX and welcome to the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth Early Access event. Big thanks to Wizards of the Coast for providing me with this early access account. In today's video I'll be playing through my very first draft of the Lord of the Rings set, so without further ado, let's hop into it. And this is going to be my very first experience playing with any of these cards at all, so we're going to be doing some real basic drafting strategies today, just trying to learn a lot of the mechanics and archetypes, see them in action in gameplay for the first time. So our pack one, pick one, we've got a pretty solid rare, so we're probably just going to scoop it up and head in that direction. Glowing Dwarf Emissary is a 3-mana 3/3. Whenever you cast a historic spell, create a treasure token. That triggers only once each turn, and you can tap it, sacrifice a treasure to go to target creature. So the really strong part of this is a 3-mana 3/3 on curve is solid, and there are a lot of legendary cards and artifacts in this format. There's also some sagas, and those are the historic card types that will trigger the treasure production. So if you can get like 2 treasure tokens out of this throughout the game, 3 mana for a 3/3 produce 2 treasures is an excellent deal. And sometimes your opponent might have a smaller creature with a good ability that they don't want to attack in with, and you can goad their creature to force them to attack with it. So we'll go with Glowing Dwarf Emissary there, just take our rare and see where that takes us. For pack 1, pick 2 now, we don't have any great red cards. There's a small little combat trick. There's like a land destruction spell that can get your creatures through on the ground. Cast into the Fire might end up being good. I just don't know how many 1 toughness cards are going to be in this format. So we're probably not going for a red card. So let's look at our uncommons here and find something powerful off color. I do think Rise of the Witch King looks pretty strong, but it is a gold card. It's 2 colors we're not currently playing. So unless I play red, black, and green, I can't fit Glowing into a deck with this. So we'll disregard it for that reason. So the picks are between Meneldor, Swift Savior, 4 mana for a 3/3 flyer that can exile one of your creatures and return it to the battlefield when it deals combat damage. Pretty cool, pretty fun ability with good enter the battlefield effects. But I think I'm going to go for Gollum, Patient Plotter, because Gollum is a much more famous and cooler character, and we get to try out the Ring Tempts You card. This is a 2 mana 3/1. When it leaves the battlefield, the Ring Tempts You. That means that you're going to get level 1 of the Ring ability, so it goes from the top to the bottom. So the first time the Ring Tempts You, you make one of your creatures a legendary that can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. The second time it happens, that creature also draws you a card and discards a card whenever it attacks, and so on and so forth. It just keeps stacking those abilities up. It's never going to lose any of those abilities, so the more you tempt the ring, the better your ring bearer gets. So Gollum seems pretty solid for only 2 mana. Gollum's also a sacrifice outlet if you have expendable creatures or you're trying to steal and sacrifice an opposing card. So we will go for the Gollum there, and we can stick to red with Eomer of the Rittermark to keep things simple. 5 mana for a 5/4 haste is a pretty large body, pretty good mana cost there, and whenever it attacks, if you control a creature with the greatest power among creatures on the battlefield, create a 1/1 human soldier. So there's not going to be a ton of creatures in this format that are bigger than 5 power, so Eomer kind of already triggers his own ability, where you're pretty often going to be spitting out a 1/1 chump blocker every turn you attack with him, so he seems pretty solid. Pack 1, pick 4 now. Don't see anything incredible in red or black. We could take Relentless Rohirrim, which could go well if we want to tempt the ring a lot with our cards like Gollum. Or we could take Mordor Trebuchet, which is good if we draft a bunch of goblins and orcs, which are mainly in red and black. But I think I'm going to see if there's anything super powerful off color to pick a different secondary color than black here, depending on what we see. We see Ent's Fury, looks like a very good removal spell in green. Generous Ent is a really big late game green play. I like these green cards a lot, I think. I'm going to take an Ent's Fury here and have that secondary plan of going green-red. Pack 1, pick 5 might still head in that direction. We do see a Mirkwood Bats in black, and there's a lot of token production in this format. There are food tokens, there are 1/1 human tokens, there are Orc Army tokens. There's a lot of stuff like that, so Mirkwood Bats could get a bunch of extra damage in here, so I think I'm actually going to take the Mirkwood Bats here. But I will take this opportunity to show off the Amass mechanic. So if you amass 1, then you create a 0/0 Orc Army and put a +1/+1 counter on it. So anything that says Amass 1 or Amass 2 essentially makes you a 1/1 or a 2/2 the first time you play it. If you already have an Orc Army on the board and something tells you to amass, then you just make your Orc Army bigger. So the idea behind it is you can either keep sacrificing your Orc Army for good value, or you can let it sit there and stack up until it's one really big threat. So Amass is another one of the unique mechanics to the format. It did get printed back in like War of the Spark, but it has been quite some time. Here I think I'm going to take a Rally at the Hornburg. This card just looks like it's going to be kind of sweet for a lot of different archetypes. In red-black, you do have some stuff that makes you want to sacrifice creatures, so having 1/1 creatures on board to sacrifice is great. In red-white, you care about the human creature type quite a lot, so getting some humans on the board is nice. In red-blue, you care about having a lot of instants and sorceries, so having a sorcery that can give you creatures is good so that you still kind of have creatures in your deck. I think Rally at the Hornburg is just going to work pretty nice for a lot of stuff. Pack 1, pick 7 could take a Shire Terrace to stay kind of flexible here. If we open up some really cool off-color cards, this can help splash 1 in, because we can sacrifice this land to search our library for basic, put it onto the battlefield tapped. So we could take a Shire Terrace here. We could also take the Haradrim Spearmaster, which is a strong, aggressive red card. We actually do have a really good start towards humans with Rally at the Hornburg and Eomer. And the Spearmaster is also a human. You know what? I'm going to go for the Spearmaster actually over the Shire Terrace. But I think Shire Terrace would also be quite a decent pick. Alright, none of these cards look super strong, but I am kind of just glancing at them at face value since it is my very first experience in the format, so I am sure there will be plenty picks I look back on that I would draft much differently in the future, but we're still learning, we're brand new. We can make a bunch of food tokens here, or we could scry 2 off of 4 mana 3/4. Really, either of these just seem okay. I'll just take the Galadrim Guide, I guess. And another thing to note here is that I am going to be mispronouncing a lot of these cards. I have never watched any of the Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings movies. I have read the Hobbit book. It was pretty great. However, I've never read any of the Lord of the Rings books or the Silmarillion or anything like that, so I am not going to be the most versed in the flavor of this set, but I will recognize some stuff from the Hobbit. So we'll take Rally at the Hornburg here. And on that note, any of the stuff that I do recognize, I won't know how to pronounce it correctly because I've only ever read it. I've never heard the words spoken out loud. So my apologies to any major Lord of the Ring fans for all of the massive mispronunciations we're about to have today. So here's Rush the Room as a solid combat trick, or Cast into the Fire to maybe kill small stuff. I'll take a Cast into the Fire. It's very cool flavorfully. I don't know if either are going to be great. Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin would be our first card that goes in the red-white humans archetype, I guess, but I think I'd rather just keep taking random red cards here, or random green cards here, in case we swap to that as a secondary color. Mirror Guardian is definitely good for green-red because there are cards in that archetype that care about having power 4 or greater, and this is a 3-mana card that gets you your power 4. Bombadil Song, great little combat trick. And yeah, it doesn't look like black is super open. We got 1 Mirkwood Bats and 1 Golem, both seem like very strong cards, but other than that, black dried up pretty quickly here, so we might have to bounce onto our backup color and head towards red-green. Just red-green beat sticks, play a bunch of big, dorky creatures. Our rare in Pack 2, pick 1 is Press the Enemy. 4 mana for an instant, return a spell or non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand, and you can cast an instant or sorcery with equal or lesser mana value from your hand for free. Interesting. Doesn't seem incredibly powerful in draft, because that is a lot of mana, especially if you don't have an instant or sorcery in your hand after you cast this. Not super pumped about that. I don't see that as a huge reason to try to move into blue-red. I could take Rally at the Hornburg again and just have a million copies of this, so if we ever do open up one of the sweet red cards that cares about humans, we have just a million of them. Swarming of Moria is also pretty nice, giving you a treasure token main deckably with your 2/2 Amass Orc Army, getting mixed up with War of the Spark again. I'll just take another Rally at the Hornburg. Let's just have a million copies of that, I guess. Well, Fiery Inscription would be quite fun for the blue-red deck if we want to try to play a million instants and sorceries, have a bunch of instants and sorceries that amass an Orc Army or create 1/1 humans, and that's how we get creatures into our deck. This also tempts the ring again, so we can get a ring bearer and start loading up some abilities onto that. However, there is a Friendly Rivalry, which looks like a great instant speed green-red removal spell. Target creature you control and up to one other target legendary creature you control each deal damage equal to their power to a creature you don't control. So if you have a legendary on the board, which you can get by tempting the ring, or you can get by just having something like Aomer or Gloin on the board, then this is going to kill almost anything. Having two of your creatures deal damage equal to their power, going to kill a lot of stuff. We'll take the Friendly Rivalry there. The fourth copy of Rally at the Hornburg. That would be fun. That'd be cute. None of these green cards look super strong. Some combat tricks. Recursion. Lembas is a fun little flexible card. Looks delicious. Then there's like a bunch of blue. Athelian Kingfisher just looks great in general. 2/1 flyer. When it dies, you draw a card to replace itself with something else. Once it's served its purpose. Surrounded by Orcs would be really fun for a blue-red spells deck where you can mill yourself over and over, try to get a bunch of instant sorceries engraved. You know what, I'm going to have that as my backup plan. I doubt it works out, but I don't think I'm going to need a fourth Rally at the Hornburg. So I'm going to start scooping up some of these random blue cards that we're seeing a lot of, so that maybe we have a blue-red spells backup plan. More likely than not, we're just green-red beat sticks. Speaking of green and red beat sticks, there's an Oliphant here. 6 mana for a 6/4 trample. Whenever it attacks, another creature you control gets +2/+0 and trample till end of turn. That's a big, big threat in the late game. And this has that flexibility where if you draw it early and you don't have anywhere near 6 mana, then you can just turn it into a mountain. So Oliphant seems pretty great. I'm going to scoop that up. We could also take another Bombadil Song. This is a great little hexproof trick, but take an Oliphant. Ooh, here's a fantastic removal spell. Fear, Fire, and Foes. The one issue with this is it's going to cost you a lot of mana. If you want to kill your opponent's 3 mana 3/3, you have to spend 4 mana to do it. If you want to kill their 4 mana 4/4, you have to spend 5 mana to do it. So it's quite often going to cost more mana than whatever you're killing. However, it makes up for that by also wiping out all of your opponent's 1 toughness creatures. So pretty cool card. We'll take Fear, Fire, Foes. Pack 2, pick 6. Oh, Mines of Moria. Please tell me that card is good, because that's such a cool, flavorful land. Alright, it does not look very good. Exile 3 cards from your grave to get 2 treasures. I mean, that's not horrible. It's not horrible. But it's competing with an Enraged Horn, which is a cool, like, sturdy trampler that also tempts the ring. A Gimli, which is obviously cool. Breaking the Fellowship for removal. So many good cards here. I'm just going to go for Gimli. I mean, you have to, right? It's literally Gimli. If I've never seen the movies or read the books and I know who Gimli is, I'm kind of just obliged to take it, much like taking Gollum earlier there. Pack 2, pick 7. I guess we just take a big beefy dork. 4 mana for a 4/4. Gets +X/+X every time it attacks, where X is the number of legendaries you control. So it's like 4 mana for a 4/4 minimum, often attacking as like a 5/5 or 6/6 if you've got a Gimli or a Ring Bearer on the board, anything like that. So we'll roll with that. Alright, fine. Dorky combat tricks. Also got a Goblin Fire Leaper, which is fun. Yeah, I mean, you attack in with this, you Fire Breathe. This is a great Ring Bearer as well. The way that the Tempting the Ring works is you kind of want to put it onto a small creature. You want to put it on something with pretty low power. Ooh, if I were much more experienced in the format, I would almost definitely be in blue-red, I think, in this draft pod. Seeing Kingfisher this late and stuff. There were probably plenty of signals, but this is my first draft of the format, so we're kind of just eyeballing it here, just winging it. But yeah, whatever your Ring Bearer is going to automatically be unable to be blocked by creatures with greater power. So it's kind of like the less power your Ring Bearer has, the more likely it is to be able to keep attacking, drawing you those cards, discarding you those cards over time. And also, if you make it all the way to level 4, then your Ring Bear is more likely to keep hitting your opponent and make them lose 3 life. So, pretty interesting mechanic there. Now we'll finally take one of these combat tricks, I guess. Although I've got another Bombadil Song. I guess I should have taken the Graveyard Recursion, because it's going to be hard to fit those other combat tricks into this deck when I have multiple copies of Bombadil Song, which I think is probably going to be the best combat trick. Because it can win a combat against an equally sized creature, or it can counter a removal spell, and every time you do it, you tempt the ring, so it does seem pretty sweet. We got a green mythic rare, so that's probably the pick. Radagast the Brown, 4 mana for a 2/5. Whenever Radagast or another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top X cards of your library where X is the creature's mana value. You may reveal a creature card that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control from among those cards and put it into your hand. So 4 mana 2/5 that could be a card draw engine if we try to play as many different creature types as possible. Interesting. Don't know how good that's actually going to be. Doesn't really feel like I opened a mythic rare, more like just a rare or something in terms of draft power level, but I'm still going to take him. I'm going to try to play him. That seems pretty fun, pretty powerful. Speaking of pretty fun and pretty powerful things, Quick Beam is a card that looks like a huge finisher. 6 mana for a 5/6. When it enters the battlefield, up to 2 creatures get +2/+2 and gain trample till end of turn. Talk about a way to crack in for the last few points of damage. That is 4 extra power attacking in the turn you play it, and it makes sure your creatures have trample so they can't just be chump blocked. Quick Beam seems fantastic, and if you have multiple Tree Folk in your deck, this card's going to be completely absurd, so we'll take Quick Beam over this Elven Chorus thing. Fun card draw engine it looks like, but I like that big Quick Beam for the finisher. Take a look at our mana curve here. How many actual creatures do I have at 2 mana? It's the big question. I think I'm going to take another Fearfire Foes, but if I don't have enough cheap creatures in my deck, I might need to take a Mushroom Watchdogs or a Battle Scarred Goblin. So let's cut our off-color cards here, commit to our green-red nonsense. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 2-mana creatures, no 1-mana creatures. I would like a few more cheap cards here, ideally. Now that I'm finally looking at my mana curve, I have a million 4-mana cards and some endgame. I think I'm still going to take another Fearfire Foes, but I'm going to take any 2-drops I see from this point on pretty highly. Well, another Ents Fury, though, which is fantastic. I could take this Lothlorien Lookout over it, but it's just a 1/3. I guess it's a good Ring Bearer, because having higher toughness than power as a Ring Bearer means you're never going to lose combat, because you can't be blocked by anything with more than 1 power. So they can't block it with anything that has 3 power to kill it, so that's kind of neat. Probably just going to end up with too many removal spells here, though. Taking Ents Fury. Maybe should have taken that thing. Yep, there's more combat tricks here and no creatures, so it's going to be awkward. Take another Bombadil Song. Yeah, our mana curve is kind of the opposite of how you want it. You'd rather have this many 2-drops and this many 4-drops. We want these 2 mana costs completely flip-flopped. Shower of Arrows. Destroy an artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Not that interested. 1 mana, 1/1 Menace. Tempt the ring when it dies. Seems fine. Fine little value. I think I like that. I'm a little more interested in that than the Lothlorien Lookout. Try that thing out. Pretty good Ring Bearer as well, because now they need 2 1-power creatures on board to be able to block it. Another Oliphant is fine. Could take a Shire Terrace for splashing or a Many Partings for splashing, but I don't think I will be. I'll take another Oliphant. What does this land even do? I got this like last pick. Mana from among legendary creatures in your grave. So it's just like a colorless land that scries when it hits the board. Yeah, not that interested. Alright, well I'm happy there's no good 2-mana creatures in this pack, because Strider, Ranger of the North is an absolute house. 4 mana for a 4/4. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. If its power is 4 or greater, gains first strike till end of turn. So if you play this and then you just play a land next turn, you're attacking with a 5/5 first strike. Brutal. Huge card. Now I'll take a battle-scarred goblin. Not because I think it's better than Spearmaster. I think Spearmaster is better, but I need more 2-mana creatures so we can consistently hit the board early. Alright, there's nothing on color. Get another battle-scarred goblin. I've got a little bit of food. I don't know if I have enough food for the watchdogs. So I think I'm still going to go for... Well, you know what? With Radagast in the deck, let's put the dog in. We want to have as many different creature types as possible with Radagast the Brown, so we'll take the dog. Gimli's Fury's not going to make the cut with all these Bombadil songs and all that nonsense. Probably not going to play Cast into the Fire or Pippin's Bravery either. Or the Galadrim Bow. Alright, so I am just going to cut a bunch of cards super quick. Not going to do much when it comes to deck building here. Not going to think too super hard about it. Just going to go pretty instinctually, because I really want to get into the gameplay and see how the format plays out first before I know 100% for sure what we really want the decks looking like overall. I think more than anything, we want to cut a lot of 4-drop creatures here. That makes the most sense to me. Let me stack up all my actual non-creatures into one pile. Oof, I'm lagging bad. I might have to reboot Arena here. Be unfortunate, because this is going to be unedited. Alright, 48 out of 40 cards. So we're going to cut 4 things. These are all creatures as well. So we're sitting at 19 creatures plus 4. 23 creatures, basically. Yeah, we cut a lot of them then. We don't have a lot of goblins and orcs. And we want to have as many different creature types as possible with Radagast, ideally. I need to stop scrolling creatures to the other side, apparently. Arena's getting real mad when I do that. I'll just click on them to cut them then. And Arena's getting mad when I do that as well. Alright, as soon as I'm done building this deck, we will do a quick reboot before we head into the gameplay, just to make sure nothing messes up. So we've got a Human Knight, Goblin Warrior, another Goblin Warrior, a Dog, Dwarf Soldier, Human Warrior, Dwarf Advisor, Dwarf Warrior, another Dwarf. I've got a lot of Dwarfs. I should probably drop the Bag End Porter. Should keep one of my elves in here. The only elf in the whole deck is the Galadrim Guide Elf Scout, so I'll keep one of them. But I'll cut a couple Dwarfs. I'll cut like the Bag End Porter here. Maybe the Mirror Guardian as well, because Strider doesn't really need power 4 or greater creatures to be good. Because if you just have a 3-power creature on the board, you could give it +1/+1 and get the first strike. Plus Strider can just target himself and be quite strong there too. But I guess for mana curve, I still kind of want that. Could cut down to 1 Oliphant. Six 2-drops, not that much. I still think I'm cool with cutting one of these rallies at the Hornburg, because we ended up in the only like 2-color red deck that I think doesn't care that much about rally at the Hornburg. Again, red-black can sack these. Red-white has cards that care about humans entering the battlefield, and red-blue cares about instants and sorceries that make creatures. Red-green is the one red archetype that doesn't really care about this card, so that ended up pretty awkward. Cut one of them, but I still do want more 1 and 2 mana things to do, so I think I'm keeping at least 1 copy in here. What is our creature count looking like now? 14 plus 3, basically 17, basically perfect. Then, I like the Fear Fire foes a lot, like the double Ents Fury and the Friendly Rivalry. I guess we could just cut down to 1 copy of Bombadil's Song. Does seem good, but I don't think we need 3 of them. 2 would still be okay, but I'll just cut down to 1 in the interest of wrapping up the deck real quick. And let's check the lands out and see if we can use any Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth lands. I don't know if they put them on Arena for the early access event yet. It does not look like it. Unfortunate. We'll just use Shadows over Innistrad lands then. That would be really cool. There's some beautiful Lord of the Rings lands in the set. Some of them are the full arts in the set, which are like pictures of basically the map of Middle-earth, which is really cool. A bunch of different areas on the map. Very traditional style, so here is a look at the final deck. For those who are interested in that, it's just kind of a green-red beatdown deck. We're really just trying to hop into some gameplay. Check out what the format looks like here. So it's some very basic bread and butter stuff. Little bit of an awkward curve. I prefer to have, well, you know, this curve isn't terrible when you look at the Rally at the Hornburgs here. But I would prefer to have some cards that are better in this archetype than Rally at the Hornburg. I don't think this is a great 2-drop for the red-green deck. Outside of that, though, I mean, the curve is fine, and we have a ton of removal to back up our creatures and just keep beating down. Very classic, very traditional green-red stuff, where we beat our opponent up with big dorks and clear the path with all our removal spells. So that is a look at today's deck. Let's go ahead and ready that deck up, and then I'm going to reboot Arena real quick, because we were having some pretty laggy issues during the deck building, so just in case. We don't want anything to go wrong during the gameplay, especially for the first draft of the format. So we're going to reboot Arena here, and unfortunately, as I said before, today's video is going to be unedited, just in the interest of getting it out to you all as quickly as possible, letting you see the format immediately. So there is going to be just a little bit of dead air there as we reboot Arena. And alright, let's head into the gameplay now. We've got our green-red just beat sticks deck. We've got a Radagast the Brown to try to draw some extra cards, which should be pretty fun. We've got Gimli. We've got a bunch of removal spells and a bunch of dorky creatures. We'll see how well it plays out for us as we head into Game 1, my very first game in the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. Let's turn that music up because it's the brand new music and it sounds pretty cool. Ooh, the One Ring floats down with a bunch of bubbles? Interesting, interesting. Let's drop a Rohirrim Lancer and pass the turn. Our opponent is on red-white with a turn 2 Nimble Hobbit, which can tap down some of our creatures by spending 3 mana or sacrificing a food when it attacks. So pretty aggressive card. We've drawn a Goblin Fire Leaper so that we have a 2 mana card we could play. Pretty nice. It's not a super good body by itself. You do want to buff it up with something else, or buff it up with its own ability for it to be particularly good. Our opponent is just going to pass the turn. We've got a Spearmaster now to help during combat, which is cool. So let's drop down the Spearmaster so that we get the beginning of combat trigger to buff one of our creatures. We could either hit them for 2 by buffing our Lancer, or we could buff the Fire Leaper to offer the trade with the Nimble Hobbit. I'm not that interested in trading into the Hobbit, though. I think we have a lot of ways we could use the Fire Leaper for some good use later. If we can buff it up with Spearmaster and then its own ability and then like Ents Fury, maybe we get a really big death trigger off of it or something like that. Could be pretty cool. Our opponent has plane cycled their Eagles of the North to make sure they hit their 4th land. Now a Breaking of the Fellowship to kill our Lancer. That means we get to set up a Ring Bearer here, which we will make the Goblin Fire Leaper Ring Bearer, I suppose, but Nimble Hobbit is really good at blocking a Ring Bearer because it's that 1-3 stat line. I think I'm still going to put it on the Fire Leaper so that they can't really find good attacks with the Nimble Hobbit, or our Fire Leaper gets to get in super easily. Gimli counter of kills now? Yeah, just drop a 4-3 trample. And this way, if they do end up chump blocking ours... Ooh, we can't target the Spearmaster with its own ability. Unfortunate, that does make it significantly worse. Well, that's alright. No attacks this turn then, but that's okay. I think playing Gimli is still the right play, we just could have done it post-combat. Gimli's going to be a huge attacker. Ooh, not if they put it back into our library, 4th from the top. Alright, we'll see you again someday, Gimli. There's a Rising of the Day, their legendaries get +1/+0, and their creatures have haste, and of course their Ring Bearer is legendary. So that's a 2-3 now. Okay. I can buff the Fire Leaper with the Spearmaster and then use its own ability to buff it twice to kill the Nimble Hobbit. I'd rather just play the Galadrim Guide, Scry 2, probably put the next 2 on bottom to get closer to Gimli. Well, Fear Fire Foes is actually kind of sweet. I'll keep that, but we'll get rid of the forest to get closer to Gimli. And then we will pass the turn. Oliphant getting cycled for our opponent, grabbing their 5th land. So if they have some powerful late game spells, they are getting the mana now. That is certainly a big late game spell. 5/4 with haste. Whenever it or another creature with power 4 or greater dies, they get to amass orcs 2. So they get a 2/2 off of this. Alright, they trade into our 3/4 and then they get a 2/2. That's alright. They choose to trade into the 2/3 instead. Alright. Oh, I kind of totally forgot that this can't be blocked because their Nimble Hobbit is up to 2 power, so I could have been getting 1 extra damage in. But it might have been a fine card to hold up as a blocker, I don't know. I don't think I need to Fear Fire Foes, because I can just block these things unless they spend some mana. I guess Nimble Hobbit. I can't block the Nimble Hobbit with the guide. So they could hit me for 2 on the crackback. I only hit them for 1. It's probably better to hold the Fire Leaper back to be able to block and pump if I don't want to Fear Fire Foes here. Ents Fury isn't going to do much. Just going to kill one of these things, which doesn't matter too much. I guess I'm just chilling, really, until I play a Gimli and then try to go in with Gimli. Relentless Rohirrim. A 4/3, the ring tempts them again. So they're on level 2 now, so they get to draw a card and discard a card whenever their Ring Bearer attacks. They are going to attack with the Nimble Hobbit and the Rohirrim. Well, I don't really mind this that much. Like, I could just kill both here. If they don't have a trick, then this should be pretty good for me. Definitely way too new to the format to know what 1 mana white combat tricks there are yet. Apparently there is one, because they're going to do something here. Destroy a legendary? Ooh, that's disgusting. So now I just lose all these blockers. Alright. That's still not like the end of the world, but that is pretty good. Drop a Gimli past the turn. Landroval, when they attack with 2 creatures, one of them gets flying, and the Landroval has haste. So that's going to be a huge attack here. Down to 10. +1/+1 counter if its power is 4 or greater, then give it +1/+1 again, and then fight. So if I use this on Gimli, Gimli goes up to 5/4, then it goes to 6/5, then fights the Landroval. Yes. I believe that's how this works. Alright. That is how it works. So now we take significantly less damage. And we pass the turn. Draw a card, discard a card. No, they are going to spend the 3 to tap something. Go for the tap on the Galadrim Guide. So I can either hexproof this and then block Rohirrim, or block Rohirrim and then hexproof Gimli. I think it's better to try to hexproof the guide, because then if they have a trick, they have to use it right now. Whereas if I waited there and I let them tap that, then I blocked with Gimli and tried to hexproof Gimli up, they could respond by killing Gimli. Which would be a lot worse for me than if they responded by killing the Galadrim Guide. Alright, they've got a way to get rid of Gimli, but they're out of cards in hand now, which is really big. I can Ents Fury and make Gimli even bigger, but I'm never going to have a way to get rid of this enchantment, so it doesn't really matter if Gimli gets bigger. So I guess I Ents Fury, Guide goes up to 4/5 stats. We kill the Nimble Hobbit. Gimli shoots them for 1, and then we attack for 4. Yeah, and then I still have a Fear Fire Foes for the next creature. If they top deck anything big, we take a lot of damage on the crackback. Like, I'm at 8 life, taking 2 when they attack us. Feels a little risky to attack, but I'm still going to do it. I'm going to put them down to 10 here. We got our fingers crossed. Fingers super crossed this game. Alright, it's not a creature, we're down to 6. Do I have to just Fear Fire and Foes their 2/2? So that they have to top deck a creature to hit me? I think I do, because otherwise if they top deck like a 4-power creature, I'm insta-dead. Six life to 6 life. It's going to be a nail biter in the end. Alright. They didn't play anything. They're down to 3. They're dead in 1 more attack from my Galadrim Guide. They pass the turn. Do they have instant speed removal? They don't have instant speed removal. They drew stone cold nothing the last few turns. To be fair, we did as well. Just land, land, land. All right, that was a really, really close game. to start off the Lord of the Rings format. We are 1-0 now as we head into game number 2. All right, that was quite a top deck war. Super interesting too, because I did very much disregard the haste enchantment during the draft. That gives your legendaries +1/+0 and all that, but it put in a lot of work for our opponent there, so I think that's already rising in my ranks. Not that I think it's a great card or anything, but it might actually be playable. Not just like a stone cold unplayable that you never draft, like I was potentially considering at the start. Certainly made our position in that game a lot scarier. We went from 18 to 10 real quick when they drew into their flying bird legend. For the haste, the +1/+0, the extra damage, immediate flying trigger. Alright, here we are for game 2 against Mr. Metronome, one of the Lords of Limited, so don't have to feel too bad if we lose this game, as we'd be losing to a Lord. It's losing to royalty. If we win, I think I get knighted or something. For those who are new out there, if you don't listen to a lot of limited, like draft and sealed oriented content, the Lords of Limited are one of the biggest podcasts about drafting Magic the Gathering. They're both very experienced players, and they've got a lot of great tips and tricks for the formats. So highly recommend the Lords of Limited podcast. Alright, let's start with a turn 2 Mushroom Watchdogs, and we're just going to curve out pretty classically here. Watchdogs into Swarming into Aomer, and just beat down. Looks like Mr. Metronome is on blue-green, which is going to be about scrying, so the Nimrodel Watcher is going to get +1/+0 and can't be blocked whenever they scry. Triggers only once each turn, but 2 mana 3/1 can't be blocked is absurd, so if Mr. Metronome can consistently scry, it's going to be pretty powerful. Alright, we get the trade here for the Watcher. We've got a quick beam once we have six mana as well, which is going to be huge. Galadriel, green-blue rare. Whenever the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Galadriel as your ring bearer, you get to scry 3. Whenever you scry, you may reveal the top card of your library. If a land is revealed this way, put it onto the battlefield tapped. That is a fantastic card draw engine. Alright, yeah, I'd like to kill that, but I don't think it's worth Ents Furying right now because we lose our Orc Army and our Ents Fury. And I have the mana to slam down an Aomer and try to Ents Fury next turn. Alright, so we poke for 5, get our 1/1 human, and pass the turn from there. Mirror Guardian, 3 mana 4/2 is the play. That does block Aomer very well. I don't want to have to Ents Fury that, especially when the ring will tempt them. I guess the ring tempts them and then Galadriel's the ring bearer, which means that Galadriel doesn't trigger anyway. Yeah, I mean, it's probably fine. If I attack with Aomer, they're just going to trade with Galadriel here right now. So I don't think I attack this turn. I think I pass. Because they need a creature that like tempts the ring when it enters the battlefield to get Galadriel to trigger and get that value scry. Have to be like the 5 mana 4/5 tree folk that tempts when it hits the board, and then they move the ring bearer to the tree folk, scry 3, put a land into play. All of that good stuff. trying to get a lot of mileage out of Quick Beam. If we can get our 6th land next turn, that would be massive. Here's a Chance Met Elves and a Lothrian Lookout. Alright, nothing to tempt the ring. Feels good. Did not hit our Quick Beam mana. Fire Leaper's a pretty great attacker here. Aomer, they have to double block with 2 3-power creatures. It's also not bad for us. Yeah, they double block there, then they kill Aomer. So we just send in Fire Leaper and Aomer. Pretty sure. No blocks. Buff a Fire Leaper. Good for 8. Drop a Battle-Scarred Goblin. And we're just waiting for the 6th land for Quick Beam to end the game real quick. Galadrim Guide, they get to scry 2, which is going to buff the Chance Met Elves here, make it a 4/3. Scry 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom. Chance Met Elves is bigger. Galadriel gets to hit a land. There is no land, though. Send in the Lookout to buff the Elves again. But keep the card on the top. Alright, top deck land, top deck land. Come on, let's go. I'll take 1 damage here. Land off the top, boom. Quick Beam should be super lethal. Just attack with everybody. Math is for blockers. If they block Fire Leaper, they take 3. If they don't block Fire Leaper, they take 3. Aomer needs to be blocked with 8 toughness to stop all of that damage. Yeah. Very lethal. Mr. Metronome is going to scoop them up, and we are 2-0, headed into game number 3. So excellent stuff from Aomer and Quick Beam. Yeah, I think Aomer is just a super sweet card. A 5-mana 5/4 haste, again, that's just quite often going to be the highest power creature on board. So it is not hard to get the 1/1 humans triggering every turn. And yeah, you haste it out, you immediately slam in with it, and you get a chump blocker the second you do. Feels like quite a powerful card. I like that a lot. And then obviously Quick Beam. Quick Beam's a massive, phenomenal finisher. Quick Beam really makes sure you put a huge amount of pressure on your opponent's life total the turn it hits the board, to where even if they do survive, they're probably having to block with quite a few creatures and have a lot of their board state get killed. And then you still have a 5/6 tree folk left behind after all that is said and done. So big fan of those uncommons. We got a turn 1 Rohirrim Lancer here, which is a great way to start a game. No other creatures till turn 4, though, so the curve might be a bit awkward. Yeah, we draw into a Quick Beam, Upstart Ents, but that's obviously a 6-mana card, so some great late game plays, some solid removal spells, but not too much follow through alongside our Rohirrim Lancer here. There's a Lothlorien Lookout for our opponent, and I don't have the mana to kill that right now. Need to top deck a land here. I'm going to have some pretty major issues because we need 1 more land to play Strider. There's Arwen Undomiel. Whenever you scry, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, period. So Arwen's going to immediately be a 3/3. So now we need to hit the land to kill Arwen. But we kept a 3-lander. I'm pretty sure we kept a 3-lander. We just haven't drawn a land yet. So odds are getting pretty high. Come Come on, top deck. Oof, that is very bad. At least it's a castable spell, but that means Arwen is still going to be on board. Arwen gets to go up to 4/4 stats. It's going to get really, really hard to kill Arwen in the future. So we just play a Mirror Guardian, I guess. Pass from there. The Guardian's big enough to friendly rivalry the Arwen, even if they put another counter on her. Oh, Elrond. Oh, good God, what does that do? When you scry, put a +1/+1 counter on X creatures, where X is the number of cards looked at when scrying. Whenever a creature with a +1/+1 counter becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you draw a card? So now even when I removal spell their creatures, they draw a card? Good grief. Alright. Well, this is a 1-2 punch that I'm not sure we can deal with here. Maybe if I missed like 0 land drops ever, but even then, these are really good together. I'm not even sure what I kill. I mean, it's got to be Elrond. Elrond is a little bigger, does the same thing as Arwen, except slightly stronger. Plus, Elrond doesn't have a +1/+1 counter on him, so if I kill Elrond, they won't draw a card. So means I don't get to play Strider here. We just play a friendly rivalry, and that's it for the turn. Yep. I guess this is instant speed, but I think I need to just kill that before they do any more scrying shenanigans. So they scry one more when they attack, which means they can make this a 4/6, and then I can't double block anyway. So I don't think there's a reason to not attack with the Lancer. Maybe even attack with Guardian, but then I take 7 damage on the crackback. I think it's kind of good to keep from getting hit by Arwen here. Knights of Dol Amroth. Luckily, that doesn't really do anything right now. When they draw their second card each turn, they get to put a +1/+1 counter on it. Basically just a 4-mana 3/3 for now. Alright, buff the Lookout. It's up to a 4/6 now, which is just getting ridiculous. Draw a Herodream Spearmaster. So I can Fear Fire Foes the Arwen, and then I can have the Guardian to block the Knights, but I'm going to keep getting hit by this Lookout. I could Ents Fury the Lookout, but then my Guardian dies. If I can find 2 more lands, I could play like Strider and Ents Fury in the same turn. That's maybe pretty big. Yeah, let's just kill Arwen so they stop getting more counters. Oh no, 1-mana trick? No, no 1-mana trick. Cool. I was worried. Living in fear. I just want to chump block with the Lancer at this point. Could poke for like 1 more damage, but it's not a huge point. Unless I lose this game with my opponent at 1 life in the end. Oh god, Ents Fury on a 4/6 turns into a 6/8 here. That's pretty good. The Ents are furious. And a Hithlane Knots to tap our 1 blocker, scry and draw a card to trigger the Knights to give them 10 power against us at 12 life. And a Mirkwood Spider. Okay, that's not a little +2/+2 combat trick or anything, so we're not instantly dead at least. Another Ents Fury. That is not gonna do it. Don't have the mana to do anything more than 1 spell per turn here. I can't even double Ents Fury, so I'll just play the biggest blocker so that if they don't draw 2 again, then I can trade into Knights of Dol Amroth with Strider. I can chump block the Lookout, take 1 and go to 1. Right now we're playing it out just to play it out, though. I'm pretty sure there is nothing we can do at this point. Might have had a tiny chance if we drew perfectly and hit every land drop this game. We would have been able to get to the mana values of playing a Strider and an Ents Fury in 1 turn. We would have been able to kill Arwen a turn earlier, which would have been really good. And it could have changed the course of this game a good amount, but our opponent kind of just had the nuts here. This was some really good scry shenanigans. And that is going to likely take it from us here, but we'll stick in it. Yep, just a land. Can play a Spearmaster, can play an Ents Fury, but if I Ents Fury, then my Spearmaster dies. Even if it fights the Spider because of the Death Touch, which Death Touch does work during fights as well. So that is gonna be game. A victory against Blue-Green Scry into a massive defeat against Blue-Green Scry. Blue-Green Sky? Is that the name of a Blue-Green Flyers deck? Probably. So we are 2-1 now as we head into game number 4. Really solid start here. I'd love to get at least 3 wins for our first draft. That'd make me feel pretty good. But 2 wins would not be the worst if we just 2 and 3 and out of it. But ideally 3 or 4 wins, right around average, right where you want to be to know that you're doing okay. I don't expect this deck to get a 7-win run or anything. I don't think the deck is super powerful. Again, it's just a collection of decent green and red creatures and green and red removal spells. I don't think we open any super powerful rares or any tremendously powerful synergies in here. Here's our rares, though. This will be our first time casting both of our rares, I believe. And we get to do both of them in one game. So that'll be pretty sweet. I do need to draw another forest. And I don't do anything till turn 3, so if our opponent's pretty aggressive here, we could have some issues. We did draw another forest, so we'll be able to cast both of these. And our opponent didn't play anything on turn 2, which is a good start for us. Dunland Crebain, though, a phenomenal card. That is a 1/1 flyer and a 2/2 Orc Army off of 1 card. Let's drop Gloindorf Emissary. Plan to get a bunch of treasure tokens as we cast our spells here. And they don't have any combat tricks to buff the army. They're just going to attack in here. Make Gloin a 0/3. I take 2 damage every turn I keep it around. I think I am still going to keep it around for now, because it stops 2 damage by blocking the Orc Army, but more importantly I want to get at least 1 or 2 treasures, but that is going to deal some extra damage here. So let's cast Radagast the Brown so that we're casting a historic spell, and we can set up that card draw engine while getting a large high toughness creature on board. Oh, I didn't know Radagast triggers. I forgot about that. Just right when Radagast enters the battlefield. Until your next turn, a goaded creature attacks each combat if able. Ooh, so I could make their Orc Army attack. If I want to do that, I need to wait until they go to combat. Because if I do that now and then they amass 3 and then it's a 5/5, it's like, well, sacked my treasure for nothing. Alright, yeah, see, so this is why we did not sack the treasure during our turn, because now they are perfectly fine with attacking with their Orc Army. It's going to be a 3/3 when it attacks. It's going to be a 4/4. Yeah, March from the Black Gate is going to buff that thing up here. So no reason to sack the treasure. I'm going to take another 2 here because we're going to cast another historic spell, but I'll probably sacrifice Gloin after this turn because I can't just keep taking 2 damage forever or I will die. Okay, so Radagast, a non-token creature enters the battlefield. So this triggers no matter what creature I play. It's just that the creature I draw has to be a different type. Okay, so I can play another dwarf and it'll still trigger it. That's good. We're going to play Gimli here, and we might even Ent's Fury in the same turn. We'll see. So, get our Historic spell, get our Radagast trigger. Aw, no creatures. Well, there's one dwarf, but I can't pick up a dwarf because I control a dwarf. Sadness. If I Ent's Fury, what am I going to fight? Have Gimli fight the Orc Army? So they need to set up a new army for March from the Blackgate to do anything? That feels pretty okay. Ent's Fury is going to double buff Gimli, so Gimli would be 5 toughness the turn I do this, so if they amass 2, I can't do this next turn, so yeah, I think I'll do it now. I'll do it while I know I can try to kill this army. They do have an instant here of some kind. This could be bad. This is the problem with green removal spells. Any instant speed removal can always, like, counter your removal spell. +1/+3. I think it still dies. Yeah. Alright, unfortunate for our opponent. I think that's just part of, Ent's Fury is really confusingly worded to where if you're targeting a creature with power 4 or greater, then it gets +2/+2 total because it gets a +1/+1 counter and a +1/+1 then fights. Alright. Gimli can't attack or block, and Gimli is a spirit now. It's actually good that Gimli's a spirit. That means I could draw some orcs. Or some orcs, some dwarves. Just called Gimli and Orc. I think he'd be pretty mad about that. Alright, I'm gonna finally exile Gloin. No more historic spells. No, I drew a historic spell. This does it to 2 creatures, right? Yes, so I would rather play Gear per Guide, Goblin Fire Leaper, and then Quick Beam once I actually have 2 creatures to attack with. Dang, no creatures in that top 4. Bombadil Song, Fear, Fire Foes. These are not creatures, so I'm going to put them on bottom because I'm about to play a Goblin. Alright, let's see if we can hit a Dwarf, top 4. Oh, it's based on mana value. I should probably read Radagast fully, because I keep not reading Radagast and getting confused when anything happens with this enter the battlefield effect. Alright, so reveal cards equal to the mana value. Pick a creature that isn't the same type as something you have on board, and go from there. Fair enough. Alright. Still no dwarves on board, so Quick Beam could almost definitely draw me a creature here. Come on, dwarf in the top 6? Just not a goblin or... Oh my god, yeah, look at all these options. There's an elephant? Elephant actually seems perfect. I'm going to take the elephant. There's other powerful options, but the fact that it's an elephant means it works incredibly well with Radagast. To where I get to look at the top 6, and then I could still get a dwarf or a human out of those as my most prevalent creature types. Alright, Radagast is actually kind of the sickness. Let's be honest. Undervalued Radagast a little bit, I think. Playing out super well here. Especially because the removal randomly makes this just a spirit. The reason that the removal spells do that in this format is so that you make the creature not an army anymore, so that the Amass players can still amass a new army from that point on. Alright, I don't want to play this human until I play this elephant. Because I want to be able to get humans off the top 6. Oh, 1 Goblin Warrior out of the top 6. Well. Alright, so they've set up a Worm Tongue here, which is going to start making me lose life. Even if they don't attack me. They're at 8, though, so this is going to be a close race. This is going to be a close race. They have 4 total power on the board. Oh my god, I found a dwarf. Let's go. They can't kill Quick Beam, so we get to send that in. It's already scary enough as a 5/6. Let's make this a 4/4 so they can't just block it with Worm Tongue, and then we send in 4/4 and a 5/6 here. I could send in the Fire Leaper too, and if that dies, I get to kill their flyer. That would be fine. Okay, they're going to chump block with the Haunt of the Dead Marshes, because it can come back from the grave later. Oh yeah, Gimli's going to shoot them in the face when one of their creatures dies. So even when they chump block, they take an extra one. Even though Gimli's still on board, or even though Gimli's pacified, Gimli is still on board. So the ability is going to trigger. That's super sweet. Alright, Gimli's been pretty sweet. A lot of the cards have just been awesome. So much better than they look. Again, Quick Beam popping off. Radagast really was the MVP this game. Radagast got to draw us a lot of cards with our just random assortment of creatures. That was super cool. And the fact that Radagast is also just slightly better than he looks because of cards like Fog of the Barrow Downs taking away the creature types of whatever creature it's put on. So we got to draw a dwarf again, which was cool. So pretty sweet stuff. We're going to be 3-1 now as we head into game number 4 of our first draft of the Lord of the Rings format. Really nice way to start things off. A nice, fun, simple archetype too, just green-red beat sticks. You get to play this in like every draft format, but we get to play with a lot of the cool new legendary cards. We've got some work done from Gloin, Eomer, Radagast, Quick Beam, Gimli, tons of unique, uncommon legendaries and mythic and rare legendaries in this deck. Alright, our mana's a little awkward here, and I don't play anything till turn 3. The Swarming of Moria does create a treasure token though, so I'll be able to play one of these green spells, but it's like 3 removal spells in 1 creature, so it's probably awkward enough to mulligan. I'm not going to do it though, I'm going to get greedy. Believe in the heart of the cards, drawn to more cheap creatures. Alright, a 4th removal spell, 4th non-creature spell I should say. Glorfindel, Dauntless Rescuer. Whenever you scry, Glorfindel gets +1/+1 and must be blocked or can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. Interesting. So Glorfindel doesn't permanently get bigger, so we can Ents Fury that, or Friendly Rivalry it later. If they scry immediately this turn, it's going to be bad, because then they can make it a 4/3 and force me to block with my 2/2. Luckily, they didn't scry that turn. Alright, Strider was an awesome draw, but it means I don't get to just throw a removal spell at Glorfindel right now. Ooh, Dundane Rangers seems legit. 4 mana 4/4. Whenever land enters the battlefield under their control, if they don't control a ring bearer, they tempt the ring. Or the ring tempts them. That is really nice. I can't kill that with anything in my hand right now. Yeah, I have to run out of Strider before I can kill that. Then I could Friendly Rivalry for 6 damage to it, or I can Ents Fury, buffing up Strider. Alright, Dundane Rangers is the Ring Bearer. And an Entish Restoration with a power 4 creature on the board, so they get to search for 3 basic lands and put them into play tapped. Big mana ramp. All green and red lands. So ramping into some real big beefy spells potentially. Some Oliphants and Quick Beams of their own. Alright, coming in hot with the 4/4. We'll take the 4 damage, go to 16. Very important to keep Strider around, especially with the hand looking the way it is. Alright, we've drawn into a Gloin Dwarf Emissary, which don't need to cast right now. We have no historic spells. Let's trigger Strider's ability if I want or need to. I don't think I do. I think I want to just Ents Fury Dundane Rangers. Make Strider a 6/6. Well, 5/5 permanently. If I attack with Strider and they block with Glorfindel, I can just friendly rivalry. I can't Bombadil's Song to make Strider big enough. Actually, I can just give Strider First Strike. What am I on about? Let's just give Strider First Strike and get a huge attack for free here. And then I can just Ents Fury Strider again next turn, so we play Gloin for now. I don't need to block that well. We're at 16 life. They have 5 power of creatures if they scry. Yeah, let's play Gloin. Gimli, Counter of Kills, very nice card. We've played Gimli a lot ourselves. They've got the super fancy version though. Probably bought the card style in the store. Didn't know they had the card styles up yet. That's super sweet. All right, Spearmaster. Oh yeah, they do have a scry with Lothlorien Lookout. Yeah, I haven't played enough to recognize the cards yet. Should have remembered that from an earlier game. That thing does scry, so the Glorfindel can force a block. They're going to force a block here. Must be blocked. All right, well, I'll trade. That's fine. Can keep sending in Strider. I can Ents Fury away the Gimli. Yeah, we're going to be fine. We get to kill Gimli next turn, and then we're well ahead on board if they don't find removal for Strider. And if they do, oh my god. Tempted to play Quick Beam, but I think it's still better to just kill Gimli. But yeah, if they do draw removal for Strider, then I have Bombadil's Song off of this treasure token. Three toughness left. Perfect. That means I get to perfectly attack into a Spearmaster without having to play a land for first strike. Which is good because I don't have a land for first strike. Alright, we're hoping they don't have removal for Strider, because we want to keep Strider around and we also want our treasure token to play Quick Beam next turn. And we can't have both of those if they play a removal spell. I'll have to play the treasure token to save Strider, or I'll have to let Strider die to be able to play Quick Beam. Meriadoc Brandybuck, just a bunch of nonsense. They're going to get some food tokens now when they attack with halflings. And they have a 3/4 that scryed a little bit. Hit us for 4, that's a-okay. I can guarantee lethal on the crackback with Quick Beam, giving my board trample. That's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 power with trample against 6 toughness. That is exact lethal. Quick Beam for the kill. 8 power, 9, 10, 11, 12 power. 12 power minus 6 toughness is 6 damage. Strider, Ranger of the North. Putting in some great work there with that first strike attack earlier. The double Ents Fury to buff up Strider over time also being great. And Quick Beam as the huge finisher. I am having a lot of fun with this format so far. It feels like all your individual little like legendary creatures with their unique abilities and stuff, they matter quite a bit and they're all powerful. And yeah, it's nice to just see all the different legends coming together and really popping off in their own different games. It's very cool. We are now 4-1. This is where we'd be at the break-even point, but I am playing on Wizards of the Coast's dime. We're in the early access event, where we're all playing with Monopoly bucks provided by Wizards of the Coast. So once again, this is a promotional event. Wizards of the Coast invited me to this event and let me play with this account and everything. So there's another disclosure as we are waiting for game number 6. This is where the queues might take a little bit longer. We're going to start getting into the high win rate queues potentially. 4 wins and 1 loss under our belts. This is where we might have some really, really fierce competition. Might start seeing some pretty nasty decks from our opponent. We'll see. Pretty big fan of this hand. We got a turn 2 Goblin here. We've got all our great non-creature spells. And if I can make it to 4 mana, we've got a Radagast the Brown. We're on the draw here, which helps a lot, giving us an additional draw step towards hitting our 4th land. We're crossing our fingers a little bit. If I just draw a bunch of spells that cost more than 3 mana, we could have some big issues, but far from the worst 2-lander that I've ever kept. It's got both of our colors, and it has multiple spells we could cast for only 2 mana. We can play the goblin, we can fight a small creature, we can shoot a small creature, we can protect the goblin. We've got things we can do here. Alright, our opponent starts with a swamp. Black-white is the color pair for our opponent. That is another sacrifice-focused archetype. Lot of creature token production in that color pair. White has human tokens, black has Orc Army tokens, and both colors have these like 1/1 flying spirits. Dunlin Crebain is the play. That's going to amass Orcs 2 now, so they've got a 3/3 slamming in, which is pretty dang strong, turn 3. We hit our 3rd land right on time, at least. Unfortunately, that is 1 mana off from Fear Fire Foes being incredible here, where I could kill their Orc Army and their 1/1 flyer. Fear Fire Foes could still be pretty sweet, though. Yeah, Goblin's not going to block anything well, so we just attack and pass. That's all we can really do. Unless I want to spend 2 spells just to kill one of their creatures, which seems like a bad idea, especially when they could have mana open when they attack, leave all of their lands untapped to hold up an instant in case I try to use a combat trick to kill the orc on blocks, so. Usually best not to try to do like a block plus combat trick play to kill a creature. Because again, yeah, your opponent has all their mana open and stuff like that. To have all kinds of interaction up. And even if I made that play, I'd be spending 2 cards to kill one of theirs. Faramir Field Commander. One of their creatures died, they get to draw a card. When the ring tempts them, if they choose a different creature, they get a 1/1. Alright, pretty solid, pretty great. Come on, land number 4. Perfect draw, let's go. Oof, alright, that's gonna be bad. Well, well. I don't think I do anything now. The only thing I can kill with Fear Fire Foes is the Crebain. Bombadil's Song doesn't change combat at all. Ent's Fury makes me lose my Battle-Scarred Goblin, but it can kill one of their creatures, but again, it's 2 for 1-ing myself. Might be in a position where I have to do that, so Faramir can't pop off. Yeah, this feels pretty bad. I think I'm getting really close to where I have to just 2 for 1 myself to kill Faramir, so I'm just gonna do it. Alright. We hit land 4. Can play a guide that's big enough to block the 3/3. I imagine their hand is removal, though, if they didn't just slam down a creature. So probably just try to wipe their board. Hope for no interaction here. Alright, board is wiped. Could be stabilizing here. If their hand's all removal spells, we're golden. There's a 2/1. That's not a removal spell, but that is small enough that we are super okay. Just play a Galadrim Guide and look for our next forest. These are not forests. They're good removal spells, but I need a forest, I think, pretty badly here. Land 5 gets us Éomer and Radagast the Brown, so yeah, I think it's important to just scry these away. I think it's worth it. I expect to see a good amount of, like, Claim the Precious style spells here. Just destroy a creature, tempt the ring, stuff like that. Exile a creature, that works too. But that would make sense when they had, like, 3 cards in hand and just passed. It's gotta be a lot of removal. Another Fear Fire Foes. That's gonna be great against this Took Reaper. They play another creature and then we just Fear Fire Foes and boom, kill that and something else. I'm actually gonna go for this Rally at the Hornburg here, because again, we're still expecting like one or two more targeted removal spells from our opponent. And if they have one of those and I tap out for Strider, it's going to play much worse. I'll take some damage on the crackback. All right, this is going to be beautiful. We get to Fear Fire foes. Kill the Bats and the Reaper. Card is great in this matchup. Fear Fire foes has been massive. I am going to play the land here so that I can play Aomer next turn rather than holding the land for Strider. I think Aomer is going to be very, very good since we get to attack with it and get a blocker out of it. They get a food, they get counters when they make tokens on creatures other than Rosie. Okay, we're doing great. I'm going to hold on to this land. So here's Aomer. Alright, well, it was going to be a long time till I had the mana to play Aomer plus Bombadil's Song, so that is okay. Pass turn then. Keep our blockers up for Rosie Cotton. Swarming of Moria, so... Still need that second green to play Strider and hold up a Bombadil's Song. I guess I can Swarming of Moria... This token lets me play Radagast here. I'll do that. Set up my draws. Can't pick up a human, soldier, or an army, or an orc, but I don't think I have any orcs in the deck, so humans and soldiers I can't pick up, but I could find dwarves, elephants. There's stuff in my deck I could hit off of Radagast. Elves. We hit a dwarf soldier and a human. Nothing from Radagast then. Now I'm free to attack with my 2/1/1s. At least. I don't think I have any other rangers in my deck, so I think that Strider isn't going to add to any more human or any more creature types. Ooh, we hit a land? I think if they had removal, they probably would have killed Radagast, so I'll play Strider before the land so we can get the enter the battlefield trigger, the landfall trigger. There's an argument for playing the land first so that I'm holding up Bombadil's Song immediately. Cool, Goblin Warrior. Play the land, get our trigger. Boom. Get our 1 extra point of damage. One, two, three, four, five, six. Still think I want like 2 blockers up here to be super safe. I'm actually going to hold up Bombadil's Song over the Fire Leaper. It's going to be kind of obvious that's what I'm doing, but that's okay. Because I feel like one of the only ways I can lose here, it's either like a super explosive bomb rare or some more removal like Bitter Downfall that kills the blocker and damages me. So being able to counter one of those with Bombadil's Song seems pretty important. There's a Boromir, Warden of the Tower, 3/3 Vigilance. They can sack it to give their creatures indestructible and tempt the ring. Okay. Gotta make sure I'm paying my mana for all my spells, but I don't have any ways to cheat spells out, so that's fine. Boromir just generally doesn't matter to us. Okay. It's Fire Leaper for the dig 2 cards deep. Could find an elephant or a tree folk. Or a dwarf advisor. Alright, Gloin. Give Strider first strike. I'm not sure if there are any board wipe effects in this format that destroy all creatures or exile all creatures, so I'm just going to play like there aren't and just get absolutely blown up whenever there is one. Still can get a tree folk or an elephant here. And we get a tree folk. That's going to be a huge finisher next turn. Alright, as long as we live another turn, we'll be fine. Let's just attack with Strider and keep a bunch of blockers up. If I attack with everybody, I only hit them for 4, so I don't even lethal this turn this turn on board anyway. Unless they have literally nothing in hand, then I could Bombadil Song for lethal. They go block here, take 4, but I +1/+1, something that isn't blocked. Feels a little risky. Oh, especially because they have a food token still. I'm surprised this food token is still around. That is important to keep in mind. They're technically at basically 8 life thanks to their food token, so no, even if I attack with everybody, they're not dead. Alright. So they're going to gain 3. And they're going to take the 5, down to 3 life. They've got 3 cards in hand. One of them is Landroval Horizon Witness. We might be dead. If they have a combat trick with that, we're probably dead. We don't have any reach or flying. And when they attack with 2 creatures, one of them gets flying. So if they have a way to +2/+2 the Boromir, we're dead. Alright, pass through combat. That means we do survive for now. Try to quick beam them to death, ideally. It might be more likely to kill them if we just play Gimli and hold up a Bombadil Song. I actually think this might be more likely to kill them than quick beam, so I'm going to go for that. Oh shoot, I forgot about Gloin. Because we had Gloin, we could have still played quick beam. The important part here is holding up Bombadil Song, mainly. Get an Oliphant for later, or a Watchdogs for now. Just take a Watchdogs since it's immediately castable. Alright, go for it. Is there a fog in this format? Prevent all combat damage. Because if they get another turn, we're dead if they don't lose these creatures. Yeah, I should have played Quick Beam. I really wanted to be able to hold up Bombadil Song, and I forgot that I was going to get a treasure for playing Quick Beam. Since I was going to get a treasure for playing Quick Beam, I should have just done that. Oh my god, that's life gain. Oh my god, that's life gain. And another blocker. And a +1/+1 counter on the life linker. Oh! We might lose. So they're at 7, basically. Might lose for not playing Quick Beam here. So Gimli counter of kills, I think, is going to make this still lethal. Because we're going to kill Rosie Cotton, we're going to kill the Orc Army, so we're still going to do 2 extra damage there. They're tapped out. They're tapped out, so we need to do the math whenever they commit to their block. Okay. So 7 life. Currently they take 1, 2, 3... 4, 5. I double buff the Fire Leaper and they take 6, 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm pretty sure. Oh, they can sack Boromir. Oh, I forgot about Boromir. Oh my god. So that's 1 damage off because Boromir? Which means we die? Oh my god, well played. Well played. Did not know all the text on these cards yet. Alright, 4 and 2 it is. Should have quick beamed. We had them incredibly dead to rights. But I forgot about our treasure token. Being choked on that green mana all game got me so paranoid in the end. Not having enough for the Bombadil song. All right, 4 and 2 it is as we head into game number 7. Turn 1 Rohirrim Lancer from our opponent. Let's drop a mountain past the turn. It's already a great creature to get killed by the Fear, Fire, and Foes. I'll drop a Fire Leaper here. I could play a Rally at the Hornburg and then I can double block the Lancer, but again, it's going to die to Fear, Fire, Foes when I kill something else. So I'm not going to be blocking Lancer. I could have played the Rally just to attack for 2 immediately. That would have been fine. 2/2 to block my 1/1. Can buff it up and kill Lancer if they block. If they don't block, I deal 1 damage, make a couple 1/1s. This is fine. Pass the turn. Turn 4 Gimli might be pretty sweet. We'll see, based on what they end up doing here. I don't really use these 1/1s for a lot of stuff. I'm kind of fine with trading my 2 mana spell for their 2 mana spell. Even if they play a combat trick here, I'm fine for trading for the combat trick. Get it out of the way. Sure. Combat trick is out of the way. And it costs them 3 mana, so they don't play any more creatures this turn. Just roll out a Gimli. Smite the Deathless. Goodbye, Gimli. Gimli is very deaded. I like Galadrim Guide here, that seems fine. If they block with Cavalier, then I can buff the Fire Leaper and play Battle Scarred Goblin post-combat. If they don't block with it, then I just play the Galadrim Guide. Let's grind some lands for Oliphant. There's a land and an Ents Fury. I've already got a Fear Fire Foes. I'm going to get rid of that. It's not great till I have a 4-power creature on board, which I do not. Alright, that is now a very exciting board state for Fear Fire foes. Pretty sure I'm just gonna have that spell pop off here. Guess I could make it pop off even more if they do any blocking. If they don't do any blocking, that's also fine. I'll only take 2 damage on the crackback. Alright. So we're going to kill everybody on their board now. Lose a Galadream Guide. I could spend 2 to keep a Galadream Guide and then just play a Goblin this turn. Yeah, I can still wait on the Fear Fire foes. Ring Bearer up the Fire Leaper. It's harder to block. Drop a Battle-Scarred Goblin and pass. Alright, goodbye, Battle-Scarred Goblin. Now they have a Ring Bearer. Take 3. Land for Oliphant is a land for Oliphant. Let's go. Alright. They can't really block either of these, so they take 4. And we drop an Oliphant. What kind of +4/+0 are they going to have here? A 4 damage burn spell or something? I'm just going to take this because Oliphant does so much damage if it stays around. 6 power trample, 2 extra damage in. Target creature's indestructible as long as you control Tail of Tinuviel. Turn a creature from grave to battlefield, get the Gondor back? Oh my god, good grief, that's really, really bad. So I just make these both... I'm definitely not dead on the crackback, so... I just make these both trample over, and then I buff the Fire Leaper a boatload. And we definitely kill them in 2 attacks still, even through that tail of nonsense. Okay, so right now they take 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10... 11, 12. Yeah, they're like really, really dead next turn. They're at 3 life. Okay, Indestructible doesn't care about damage prevention. That's protection that cares about that. Indestructible is it still takes all the damage, it just doesn't get destroyed by it, so Fear Fire foes isn't going to kill the Cavalier. Alright, just double checking. Forgot about the damage prevention part of Fear Fire foes. That is important to keep in mind. Alright, do they have a trick to give their whole board haste? Because then we will be dead. They could have that 2-mana spell that makes 2 1/1s and gives all the humans haste. That would be super, super good in their deck. Like all their creatures are humans. If they've got it, we're dead. If they don't have it, they're dead. Coin flip to end it off. Give the board haste or die. Alright. They don't they don't give the board haste here, so they probably die. I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to cast both of these. I'll be obnoxious about it. Try to find insta-lethal. Alright, they just scooped them up after the first copy, because I'm sure that's already lethal damage. So we are now 5-2. This is where you would be in the money in a regular Premier draft, but this is the early access event of Monopoly Buckaroos, and fun times all around, so it doesn't matter too much, but 5 wins, great place to start the format off, getting at least 5 wins here. I think we should have won our last game as well, I just didn't. I misplayed pretty hard because I didn't fully read Gloin and remember about the treasure token we were going to get from Quick Start. Even without the treasure token, it was probably extra greedy to try to hold up my hexproof trick. We should have just quick started it. Never doing that again. Always going to slam down quick start in the end game. We have never lost a game where we cast a quick start to finish things off. So we are learning. Learning that the tree folk are absurd. Alright, mono green hand with a turn 4 Radagast. Probably not a good idea, but hey, we played 7 games already. If it ends on game 8, that's fine. We'll get to play another draft, get a new archetype, some new colors, try out some new nonsense. Go for the greed keep, try to play around with the fun wizard. And it works out. We immediately hit the mountain. Now we get to play a 2-mana creature into the 4-mana creature on turn 4. Not the perfect curve, nothing to play on turn 3, but I think that is still going to be a pretty fun curve out. Our opponents on red-black, they start with the Rally at the Hornburg, and there we go, now it's a perfect curve. We've got Swarming of Moria to play on turn 3. That also gives us a treasure token for later, which is nice and valuable. But our opponent's on the play, and they're curving out real aggressively here, with the Spearmaster to buff a 1/1 so they can keep chipping in for damage. So we're definitely taking some hits here before we get things really going. Grishnak Brash Instigator gets to steal one of our creatures, or less than or equal till end of turn. If they've got a 1-mana sacrifice outlet, that's going to be super bad, but it's already a lot of damage here, which I am not a fan of. If I kill a 2/1, they just buff another 2/1 with Spearmaster. It feels like not a lot of progress is done there that's worth losing my 2/2. Yeah, we are just getting out-curved a lot. Opponent on the play with a brutal curve out. Super aggressive cards. Just Ent's Fury here. I could play Gloin and Ent's Fury. I can't play Radagast and Ent's Fury. I might have to do that. Get rid of this Spearmaster. That does make it significantly less coming at us. And then we try to use Radagast to keep drawing us cards and win the card advantage long game that way. Aomer is horrific. 5/4 haste, they get a 1/1 every time it attacks. I can double block it with 2 2/2s, which is good. It won't be completely terrible for us. Like if we top deck one of our cards that does 1 damage, the Fear Fire Foes, then I think we're a favorite to win this game if we can draw Fear Fire Foes after they attack with Aomer here. If they don't attack with Aomer, then I don't know, it's like anybody's game. Depends on what's left in their hand to go with it. But if they do attack with Aomer, I trade 2 2/2s into it, and if I draw Fear Fire Foes, I clear out their whole board and they're down to 1 card in hand and can handily get the long game card advantage victory by repeatedly drawing cards with Radagast. to keep casting more spells than our opponent can. All right, let's go. We're doing it. No fear fire foes. Gloin gives us a treasure, which means we could play an Ent's Fury here, but I don't think it does very much. It's all 1/1s and 2/2s on their board. We can play a Mushroom Watchdogs, though, which is definitely worth it to get another blocker for their 1/1s. And it's a dog, which means if we hit any creatures off of it, we can probably put them into hand. We get the Oliphant, which is an elephant, which means we get to play Oliphant and draw pretty much any creature out of our top 6. Radagast the Brown absolutely popping off for us. Just gonna keep us with a seemingly endless supply of spells to really stabilize here and turn things around. Now we're hitting a Strider. Oh yeah, everything's coming up really nicely here. And the Oliphant's gonna let us start attacking incredibly aggressively. There's a Troll of Khazad-dûm, which is quite strong. Can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. So that is a spooky one. Ent's Fury can make one of my creatures 6 toughness. Oh, I shouldn't have played my land. If I played Strider, then played my land and buffed Oliphant, I could Ent's Fury the Troll without losing a creature, which would have been important. I guess now I just have to play Fire Leaper and Strider because Ent's Fury isn't going to kill Troll without losing one of my creatures. Oh my god, I drew a Human Knight now. The Rohirrim Lancer. Make sure I have 1,000,000 creatures, and we draw a Quick Beam now. Oh my goodness. Alright, don't get to draw that Gimli, but feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. I could definitely still lose this game if I'm bad at math. But it looks pretty hard. I'm just going to play it safe here and pass the turn. Battle-Scarred Goblin. Pretty whatever. They are not going to send in the Troll of Khazad-dûm, which means now I've got the time to Ent's Fury something to death. So we go land. First strike up the Oliphant. And then Ent's Fury Oliphant makes it 7 toughness against the Troll. Kills it and survives, and it's a 9 power first striker. Basically impossible to kill. Then we Quick Beam, get a treasure. Dig 6 cards deep, make some big trampley attacks happen. Sure, Gloin and Strider, I guess. Draw another creature, because we still have more creature types we don't have yet. Send in all these, let them get the kills where they can. I totally forgot about Oliphant's triggered ability too. I guess we buff Gloin again for more damage. Good grief, this game is absurd. Radagast has been incredible. I am so happy I took this card. It did not look as good as it has played out. This thing has been wild. Alright, they're going to kill Gloin, take 2 damage there. Plus the other 15. They're going to take 17 and kill Gloin, it looks like. They are at 3 life and will pass the turn. See if they have anything absolutely wild. They do not have a way to flip the game around, so we are now 6-2. We're heading into the final boss. That means we get to play 9 games of Magic, the maximum amount of Magic you can play in a draft. So that earlier loss, the big misplay of not winning that game, that was just to keep things nice and stressful, give us the full 9-game run here. So we head into round number 9, the final boss, win or lose, the last game of Magic for today. This has been super fun. I love this format so far. But I do love every draft format during the early access event. Every format is always fun for 10 to 20 drafts at least. And the early access event is like a 24-hour period, so I can't really do more than that many drafts. We'll see. We are against NCAA. NCAA is a Twitch streamer who is constantly at the top mythic leaderboards for the premier drafts on Arena. So NCAA, an incredibly good player. As you can see, already silver in this event. So NCAA just grinds out those games and gets those wins super quickly. Usually plays some really aggressive archetypes as well. As you can see, he's going to be on red-white humans here, starting with Esquire of the King, which if they have a legendary creature or a ring bearer counts as a legendary, then for only 3 mana, he can give all of his creatures +1/+1. And NCAA curving out with a 1-drop into 2-drop. Definitely what you expect NCAA to be up to. We'll drop our turn 2 Mushroom Watchdogs. Go from there. Yep, Hobbit Sting. How did I know the second I saw NCAA? This is what I expect from NCAA in every early access event. Everyone's going to try to do some weird, dorky, maybe multicolored, legendary focus nonsense. And then if you run up against NCAA, expect 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop every event, no matter what format it is. And there it is, 1, 2, 3. If you ever want to know how to draft aggro, NCAA has a masterclass on that. And we're probably going to die here. Because we had our 1 early creature, but then nothing until turn 6. Did draw into a rally at the Hornburg, which is helpful, but not like a lot. Not massively helpful against 2/2s and 2/3s here. I could Ent's Fury away the Esquire, I guess. Double block the Eastmark Cavalier. I kind of have to get some time to survive here. Let's do that. I don't want to spend Friendly Rivalry if I don't have to. Oh no, is this the +1/+3 trick for 1 mana as well? I probably should have expected that. All of the 1 and 2 mana combat tricks as well. Yep, NCAA's mana curves are just 1, 2, 3. That's the curve. Let's go. We're getting got. Hardcore here. Down to 7. Well, at least he's flooding out. This kind of archetype that NCAA loves running really just doesn't need to hit 5 lands. At least not this early. I'm pretty dead here. Like 1 turn off from playing these big creatures to help stabilize. So if we were on the play, maybe dropping down like a 5/6 and a 6/4 could get us stable, give us some time to try to turn the game around. But on the draw here, I'm pretty sure we're going to die this turn. If not this turn, playing 1 more blocker next turn isn't going to save us. It's going to be a little too late. Yeah. Double Spearmaster now. Can kill the Cavalier, can kill Esquire of the King. I might have to Mountain Cycle the Oliphant to know I get to play a 5/6 next turn. Because if I top deck like a fight spell or something, I die. Yeah, I need NCAA to not have removal. And I need to guarantee I'm playing a creature this turn, so I'm going to Mountain Cycle. Alright, we draw into a Strider. If I play Strider, he makes... Oh, the Spearmasters can't target themselves. So they're both 3/3s no matter what. So I think it's actually safer to just play Strider here. I guess Quick Beam dies to less removal. But since a 4/4 blocks 3/3s all day anyway, think I play Strider first and play Quick Beam later. Actually not certain. You know what? I guess it doesn't matter too much either way. I'll just play a Quick Beam and pass. And let's see the removal. Alright, Lost to Legend it is, which would have gotten either of our cards because they're both legendary. Completely aggroed out for the final game. Fair enough. It is what it is. We're going to be 6-3 now. Close to a 7-win run for our first time in the format, which would have been beautiful, but 6-3 is still a super respectable run. And if I didn't punt away our game against After Office TTV, could have been a 7-win run, so I think the deck could have gotten there, but the gameplay was not quite up to par to make it all the way to 7 wins, but that's to be expected very early into the format. And apparently the deck builder is just kind of buggy right now in the early access event. That'll probably be fixed when the set launches on Tuesday. So here's a final look at the deck. Overall, I had a very fun time with it. The main thing I learned about this format personally, and maybe it's not the right thing to learn about the format, because as we saw, NCAA absolutely crushed us with just a super aggressive, cheap curve. But the main thing I learned that I like about the format is that all these like uncommon legendaries, they all feel like really powerful in their own way. And they can like change the course of the game a decent bit whenever you play them. They kind of change how things play out. I think they're all really fun, really strong, and they make the games feel pretty different. So big fan of all these legendaries in the set. And I think they're going to make the format pretty replayable to where even if I'm drafting red-green like 4 times in a row or something, it's going to be with like different legends each time. Like maybe I'll have like the 3-mana Legolas and stuff, the rare version of Eomer instead of the uncommon version, stuff like that that changes things up quite a bit. So that was pretty fun. Ent's Fury, I liked that a whole lot when we had power 4 or greater creatures, but we didn't always have them, and when we didn't, it's pretty bad. So Ent's Fury, I'm kind of 50-50 on it. It was really good when it was good. It was also really bad when it was bad, when we had hands without creatures left on board. Swarming of Moria was great and consistent. Loved that. Bombadil Song was solid. Fear, Fire, and Foes was great. Everybody had some 1-toughness stuff later on during the draft. The first few games, I think I drew this a lot, and I just didn't really care for it. But then the last 3 or 4 games, I think Fear, Fire, Foes was always able to do some nasty stuff, so that was awesome. Overall, a lot of great stuff all around. Nothing played particularly badly or particularly poorly except for like Goblin Fire Leaper, which I think I could have told you just going into this deck. This seems much more for the red-black decks where you can sacrifice this and stuff like that. Didn't play super well in red-green. But I think everything else was at least fine. And a lot of the cards played even better than I thought they would. Oliphant was super fun. That thing just stacks up so much damage when it starts popping off. Alright, well, that is going to do it for today's draft, and that's going to do it for today's video. A 6-3 run for my very first premiere draft of the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. I had a super fun time in this event, and I am super excited to play some more drafts. If you're interested in some more drafts like this, just stay tuned. I'm going to be doing another daily early access draft of the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. I'm recording them all as I speak right now, but then I'm going to edit them and upload them on the daily. So if you want to see more drafts of the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, stick around. There'll be a daily one every day until next Tuesday when the set launches on Arena and everybody gets to play the format together. At that point, there's still going to be more Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth drafts because I'll just be playing the format on my personal account. So again, if you're interested in that, just stay tuned. You can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more of these videos. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons very much for their support. Usually I have the videos edited, so it's going to show all the patron names at the end of the video, but for unedited videos, obviously I can't do that, but I do appreciate all of the support that I get on the Patreon account. If you're interested in joining the Patreons, you can check out that link in the description below as well. Other than that, though, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth.